Okay, I'm going to take you through how to use Origin to plot histograms for Monazite data. So the main thing is we have book 1 is associated with book 2, 3 with 4, and 5 with 6. And you'll see why we have all these open in a second. And then ultimately, you'll make a plot that looks like this. So the really handy thing is that all we're going to have to do is enter the date and the sigma into this column, and everything will automatically recalculate and plot simultaneously on the graph. So I separated it into 3 histogram populations. So I have this high yttrium domain in the Schwinnigan, I have a lower yttrium domain in the Ottoman, and then I have a rim domain, which is in blue. So for convenience of coloring the histograms in Origin, I broke up the books so that all of these plot by themselves, and then you have another population here that plots, and then this one. So what that means is if I turn off this layer, you could see how these are grouped, and that's going to become convenient for, like I said, for coloring. So first things first, the way this is organized is book 1 and book 2 correspond to the gray, 3 and 4 to the red, 5 and 6 to the blue. So for convenience, I'm going to work with 5 and 6 to show you how to use it. So what we're going to do is move this up. So very simply, to give a demonstration, if I change the date here for 1, let's just say something obvious to 1400, what's going to happen is this is going to run through you can see it doing it here, all of the calculations for every single column in this book will start to recalculate. So if I had changed more than 1 point, all of these would recalculate as well. This is a feature that can be changed. If you don't want this to recalculate every single column when you change one date, you can change the settings to manual, and it will only plot, it only calculates something when you tell it to. So you can see that there's a lot, so this might take a minute. It's kind of handy to have it so that you don't change something and then forget to calculate it. But that being said, if you change one thing, you kind of have to wait for this to run through. So there's our book here, corresponding to the rim population, and you can see this 1400 plotted over here. So what you can do is take all of the data that I have inserted, and you can just simply clear it, and it's going to start deleting plots. But what this will do is if you clear everything and then just copy and paste your data in, it's going to plot for you. So that's one handy thing. So while this is running through, I'm going to point out important things to know about the books. So this book is what's calculating the histogram, and these columns, like one column corresponds, this B corresponds to 1, here C corresponds to 2, and so on. So if you have a lot of data, you have to be careful that when you've inserted the data into this book, that there's enough columns to handle it. So you can see that I've put in a lot, and my data doesn't use some of the ones at the end here. But if yours does, all you're going to have to do is this is the add a column, add new column, so you can click that, so we have E pop up. You can take this, copy all, and then here, I'm just going to do the paste command, and so now we have the script, and we have another column, and it will correspond to a number in this book. And similarly, if you decide the names of the books are kind of confusing and you want to label this rim or something like that, you're going to have to come to this and click change parameters, so we can change the source of change the script. But here you can see too, this is where your recalculate mode comes in, so you can just do it manually instead of auto, which is what it's on now. So change parameter, and you can see here that this range R1 and R2, this is at book 6, that's sheet 1. So that's how book 5 and book 6 are connected. So if you wanted to change the name of this, you would have to change all of this too. And you'd have to do that for every single column, which is very annoying. I didn't figure out yet how to make the entire book change the script. I've only seen it where each individual column has to get changed, or you have to delete all the columns, re-add columns, and then recopy and paste the script that you want to coordinate with book 6. So if you want to look into that further, that'd be great. You can see here in Project Explorer that this is a place where you can change names. So if I didn't like book 5 anymore, hold on, there it is, and then you could change to rim. There's book 5. Book 5 is not present, so that we'll bring it back up. Look, there's book 5 and there's rim. So you can definitely do that. To me, because I made it, it makes sense, but maybe it'll be a little bit more confusing. But that being said, book 3 and book 4 correspond to this the red plots. So if I change any one of these, all of book 3 would recalculate and it would move the red plots around, 1 and 2 with the gray. So ultimately, if 3 different plots don't work for you, you can add more books. So you would have to duplicate this book. Actually, it would be, let me go back, it would be more handy for you to duplicate 5 and 6. So you could do this, and you could do this. I want to duplicate with the data. And that being said, if you'll notice, if I change the parameters of the script, it's still going to have book 6 as its input. So it has to get changed to book 8. And then you have to apply it to all of these columns. And at the moment, I don't know how to do that in bulk. I only know how to copy the column, copy all, and then paste it so that you get the parameter that you want. So there's got to be a better way to do it, but at the moment I don't know how to do it. So you could have 4 going, so that would give you 4 different colors of groups on your histogram plot, which might be handy for your data set. And then what I'm going to show you too about the graphs is I merged 3 different graphs to make this plot. So if I open my Project Explorer and bring up the other graphs, you'll see that 7 is a combination of 3, 4, and 5, wherever they've hidden. 7, 3, 4. So anyways, you get the picture. So how did I make 7's plot? Well, there's a graph, merge graph windows, open dialog. So this is really handy because you can merge all of the graphs that are active in the folder. You can do only the active page, all in project. So there's all in the project. And you can change the number of rows and the number of columns to 1. And then these are going to be placed on top of each other. You can see there's overlap in the x-axis here. And if you click Show Axis Framed, it's going to remove any overlap. And so that cleans that up for you. And then you can just say OK. And it's going to create another graph here. And you can see it has all of the different graphs that got merged and their corresponding scripts, sorry. So that's a handy way to do it, and then you can clean up and you can delete things from your graph, and you can, rename stuff to get it how it will be convenient for you to use. So you can just and then I might not have enough space in my computer screen to do this, but you can hide these axes so that you don't have this box. So that's one thing I need to show you. And so the next thing is, if let's just say you need to make another graph, and before you even merge it, the way that I make the graph, like the individual graphs, is I go over to the book. So let's do book 1 because I didn't mess with that data. You have to take all of the columns, so B through the end, and you can plot line, click this, and here is what it pops out. So we can get rid of this. Now these colors are not very convenient, so you can click on it, go to line, color, single, black. Then you can fill the area under the curve, which brings up this thing called pattern. And we can pick pink, and we can make it transparent if we want, and we can press OK. And so there's our graph, and of course the scale is not right, so if you double click on the scale bar here, you can bring this to 0 and press OK, and it drops this down. And so here we can see it's backwards from what we're used to seeing, so we can double click this, scale 1400 to 800, OK. So that flips around for you, and like I said, you can hide these axes. So the reason I have these books, the way that they're set up, is that this is one population that's going to have one color, and it's easier to plot it on one graph by itself and change the color of all of the histograms in bulk, and then combine all of the graphs onto one graph that has the colors and the things that you would like already set up. And then once you've maintained the graph that you would like, when you change any of the books, it automatically changes on your master plot. So that's why this is pretty convenient. You can change things as you go, and you can always use this book as your default. So that's a quick tour. If this is confusing in any way, let me know so I can remake a video that's a little bit more, that'll take care of those issues.